came back with a bang. Window down, yelling out money, anything. Ayy, ooh, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when I'm get to the bag. Ayy, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast. Ayy, ayy, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss. Ayy.
Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by the NMFTA. Let me ask you a question. Do you ship LTL freight? Then listen up, because the NMFC changes went live on July 19th, and they're the biggest updates in the history of freight classification. Now more than ever, accuracy matters. That's why carriers, shippers, and brokers alike are turning to Class IT Plus, the NMFTA's new digital platform for real-time NMFC data. Stop guessing, start classifying smarter, and quote freight with confidence. It's time to get your ship together because the NMFC changes are already here. Learn more at nmfcchanges.com and get started with Class IT Plus at classitplus.com. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. That is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. And I'm literally going to save the rest of the intro. You guys know what to do. We got an action-packed episode. I'm really, really excited about this guest today to come on and talk about his journey in the industry and building up his company and everything else. And I'm just going to save it for the rest of it, you guys. I'm going to bring him up right now. Building a company is so much harder than you think. It is also so much more rewarding than you think. And there is just a different level of enthusiasm that you need to find in yourself to show up day in and day out through all the rejection, all the hardships, and everything that come with it. And we're going to talk about a lot of that today. So I got my friend Alex Schick with Alliance Logistics on the show. Alex, thank you so much for joining me here today.
No problem, Chris. Pleasure to be here. Looking forward to it.
Dude, and like we were saying before we recorded, so Alex and I had met in person at DatCon in Kansas City it was October of last year. And it was, I've met a lot of people, as I was telling you, and I feel I have to say this on the air as well, man. Like, there are very few people that I talk to that I'm just like, they've been through it, right? Like they've been through the ringer, and it might even just be your willingness to talk about it, right? Because I think some people are kind of afraid to like show that vulnerability of like, dude, this is literally the hardest shit I've ever done in my life. And you were like open about it from the beginning of like why you do what you guys do inside of your company. I mean, you guys have a very, I don't want to call it a niche only offering, but you guys know your identity and you're not afraid to go out there and do it. So it was just different, man. And I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. So it is interesting. A lot of people don't really talk about the emotion of what it takes to be in logistics and transportation, and also what it takes to start a company and run a company. So I guess let's hit it off with that. I want to share a little short story. So a little bit about my background. Got into transportation in 2007, tracking and tracing. Started at the very bottom at an agency when agencies were still in their infancy. Helped grow that company quite a bit. And in 2019, we had left the agency and started an agency of our own. Built that up, did well. In 2023, we decided, the agent model, we've outgrown it. We need to start a company ourselves. So we did. So everything was amicable. We did everything by the book. We had a couple customers that were going to transition over with us that we had fostered for a long time, or so we thought, that we're going to foster for a long time, and everything was like, all right, we're doing this. So we're in California, we're in Fresno, California, and we drive over to San Francisco to have lunch with a couple friends of ours, and we're sitting at lunch, and I get a phone call. I step away, and it's one of the customers, our largest customer, that's going to transition with us. And I walk away, and I was maybe 20 steps from the lunch table, and he says, "We're not going to be able to onboard you. We're not going to do it." And literally, my heart dropped. Like, it was the most devastating thing that has happened in probably my life and business. Just that was the core of what we were going to be able to go with. You know, we had already built a company. We had several employees, and it just, all the thoughts were racing through my mind. I'm going to have to lay people off. We're going to have to start over for a fourth time. This is detrimental. And my wife was with me, my partner. Finished the phone call, keep a straight face, dude. I was just inside. I was bawling in tears. Like, it was, I was a wreck. Walked to the table, finished lunch, made it all great. None the wiser on the way home. It's a 3-hour drive. That was probably the longest 3-hour drive. But that right there was like, that's business. That's what people don't talk about. And that's what people don't see. Like, somebody is going through that right now in this world. Somebody is having their world turned upside down by somebody else's decision. Somebody is so passionate about the company that they're building, and just, they're going through it. And we went through it. Fortunately, like I tell everybody, you don't fail until you give up. So we didn't give up. We continued to go. We continued to push. Several weeks later, we penned an agreement and ended up getting onboarded. Stroke of luck, right place, right time, right strings pulled. Call it what you want, but that's the grit of transportation. That's the grit of being an entrepreneur. That's the grit of nobody else taking ownership over that decision than the person at the top. Like, you've got to do it. You've got to keep a straight face while you do it, and you gotta get it done. It's tough. It's
Yeah,
tough.
dude, I mean, so I've had to rebuild a book of business like 3 times now at this point. And, this last time is when we decided to go out on our own. And, like, yeah, because we're an agent with SPI, and, they fortunately were like, took a chance on me, because I'm like, hey, I have some old shippers that I could call, but like, I don't have anything, right? Like, I have no revenue that I could bring you guys at all. And they were like, honestly, they were more excited, because they're like, dude, you know how cool of content it's going to make if you succeed with this? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, we're all aware. And, going out there and building it up, because it's like, dude, the amount of energy and effort to get something off the ground. And, most people start a business with your, like your scenario, right? Like, hey, we got some guarantees from some customers they're going to come with. And then, but you went through they didn't, not, at least not right away. And, for us, it was like, we have been piecing together business throughout this journey, right? Like, we've just completed our 2nd year in business. We really started in January of 2023. And, it's been a slow go from a customer acquisition standpoint, because again, like, I'm just another provider who's calling people right now. And, and it's not, and it is just keeping that same enthusiasm every single day, that, hey, it's going to work out. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. And dude, it's an emotional roller coaster. And, this is the 2nd business that I've started from scratch, right? Where, same thing with the media stuff that I'm doing. And, the media stuff, I mean, dude, it took me probably 4 years of doing this show before I actually felt like I had a system down, right? And now we're at a point where it's like, finding guests is, I don't want to call it easy, but like, man, we have a system and a process down where, dude, we're already booked out through all of February at this point, so it's like, we're getting proactive about that. We have pre-episode, post-episode production. We have all of that stuff, and it takes so much time. But, people tune in now, and I'll just use this as an example, and they see the nice studio, they see all this stuff, but they didn't see when I was in my bedroom fucking freaking out because I had no money left over. I was burning through cash. It was in the middle of the pandemic, and, and it was like, it was just showing up aspect of it, right? Like I didn't stop, I had bad moments and I had bad days, but I didn't let them turn into anything more than that. And that's like, dude, that's just it isn't talked about because everybody wants this facade on the internet that they're the best freight broker, or they're the best sales rep, or they're the best this and the best that. Man, I like anytime I see stuff like that, I just keep scrolling. Like, I'm like, dude, if you're not willing to talk about the real side of this shit, man, you're like, there's an underlying or an ulterior motive. You're trying to sell somebody something. You're hoping they click on your shit. Cause that's probably where you make your money is through whatever you're trying to sell behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah, I think that's true. We've recently taken an approach of a lot of marketing and putting content out. We backed away from sales. We paid attention. Customers, they're tired of getting called right now. We've pumped the brakes on calling customers and decided to shift a lot of focus into marketing. Let's just get our message out there. We're not trying to sell you anything. We just want you to know who we are, what we do, where we're at, and that we're here. And we're here for the longevity. I mean, I've been in this since 2007. I'm not going to stop. This has become my blood, sweat, and tears. Like the industry, I mean, it is what it is. It's caught me. I'm hooked. But yeah, we don't want to go out there and say we're the best. We do what we do. We do a really good job at what we do, and we're looking for the right partners. I think what you said is important. You have all these hurdles that nobody sees, and you alone are the one who kind of has to deal with them or provide the direction. It's really easy to get, down and in a rut and have somebody else lift you out. But when you're the founder, when you're the CEO, when you're the entrepreneurial mind, that falls on your shoulders. You team up with people and you get through it, but you're the one who wakes up every day, failure after failure, and say, I'm gonna not fail today. And then you probably will, but you're just gonna keep going and you do it the next day. People don't talk about that. People don't talk about the realities. I mean, people don't talk about almost going through bankruptcy, being on their last dollar, not being able to make payroll. Like, these are the things that businesses go through early on, and it's real, and it is what it is.
How important, you brought up not being able to make payroll and the finance side of things, because that's something that, I will tell people all the time. If you don't have the stomach for being on day 30 of your receivables being due, and then you don't have the money to pay your payables that are due the next day, just stay an employee, because it's not fun, right? Like, it's fucking like my gray hairs have exponentially increased over these about 5 years because of stuff like that. But again, like, how important is it to have a better financial understanding from a business perspective, or, like the importance of partnering with the right financial companies as you're going to build your business up or even start your business?
Yeah. So I see your denim sticker. We're huge fans of denim. I haven't talked to them about this. They don't know I'm here. Denim has become one of the strongest financial partners that we've ever experienced.
Dang.
Seriously, the way that they do things and the way that they lift responsibilities off for the payables specifically is crucial. So when we look at business, we've been doing this for a long time, and we really take a partnership approach. Like, our average carrier tenure, like 10 years. There's carriers that I've worked with for 17 years. There's kids that I've met as infants that are now graduating high school, of people that I've done business with. There's kids that we've put through college, lawyers, doctors, you name it. Like, there is a lot of history here. But the one thing that's always remained important is to make sure that your carriers get paid, and get paid when they're supposed to. Because if you lose that, like, you can have the best relationship and you can be the best person ever, but ultimately it is a business and you have to treat it like a business. You have to pay your carriers on time. Partnering with Denim has taken that kind of responsibility off of our shoulders, because we process it and they pay it, and they pay it on time regardless. Like, it's a done deal. So that's important. The other sides of finances, it's important to know like your projections and create like a sound budget. It's important to know what you can spend in certain categories and when you need to reel back, and then make the right choices around financial decisions. There's a lot of times where tech providers will call us and try and sell us on things, and I'll just tell them, look, I love your product, but now's not the right time. Like, you're on the list, when we get there and it's in our budget, we're coming for you. Like, you're not going to have to follow up for us. We want your product. And staying disciplined in that process. Like, people are going to bring things that bring you value all the time, but you have to stay like focused to your core and make sure that your financial decisions are aligning with your core decisions. Ours has always been taking care of our people, our employees, our carriers, our customers. So through 2024, it got real tight. It got real. It was a real struggle. We made decisions to cut into our margins, to give more money to our carriers, to make sure that they stayed in business, that they stayed sustainable. We didn't lay people off. We may have trimmed some hours, but we kept our whole team intact. We didn't let anybody go. Like, we made sacrifices as a company. It cost us some momentum in certain areas. It cost us personally in quite a bit of areas, but those were the goals that we stayed and set out to from the beginning, and we aligned them financially is essentially what happens.
You brought up a lot there, and for me, I want to touch on the tech piece as well for a second there. And I've done a couple of podcasts about this, of like showing people how like I use Google and an Excel spreadsheet to develop a lead list and stuff like that. And this is the point of what I'm saying here is it's like technology is great if you can afford it, right? If it's in your budget, you can afford it. Of course, use it, but like, for the majority of us out there, it's not needed. All right. It's more of a luxury than not. And if it's the true dollars and cents of business, like, you got to do what you can afford. And this is this is like the real side of bootstrapping a business. It's not just like when I talk about this, or like post about it, you guys, it's not just me trying to get some fucking likes. I'm telling you guys what's going on inside of my company every single day, because like, I don't have investors, nor do I want investors. All right. Because I hate being told what to do. And that's for another show. But it's like, you don't need that to find shippers. Okay. And I go out there and we go through a lot of that stuff. But again, if you can afford it, run with it. And the financial understanding. So like Sean with Denim, we do a monthly podcast with him and I we call it Financial Fridays, to raise the business financial acumen of all of the listeners out there, talking about, your business credit score, paying your carriers fast, quick pay, all of that stuff. We do that to again, just bring information out there to try and help you before you hit that roadblock or that fork in the road of like, damn, I owe a lot of money out here. What do I do in these situations? Or, hey, this tech product sounds really, really cool, but like you said, it's just not on our roadmap right now, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff that's going to come at you all the time that sounds really, really good. And you think, hey, this would be awesome to have. And it might be awesome to have in the moment, but can you afford it? And most people, more times than not, it might not even be an affording thing. Do you actually need it for where your business is?
Yeah. So that's an interesting one. When we look at tech, all of our business, or the majority of our business, is short haul, hyper low margin, turn them, grind, like it just this dense freight. And we have a ton of touches on a ton of freight that makes very little money. And as we've started to approach tech, a lot of the conversations have been, your tech is not cheaper than a person. Like, I love your tech. I want to employ your tech because it will help us scale, but it costs us more to use it. And a lot of tech companies they get mad at me. They really do. I can tell. It's okay. I understand. I would be mad too if somebody told me that. But it boils down to, it has to fit your business model, right? Like if you're doing long haul business and you have high margins, you can bake those prices into it. But if you're running on $5, $10, $7 margins, a dollar a load will put you out of business.
Yes.
If you're paying $1 a load for 3 different services, dude, that's 30% of your margin. You're done. Like, you can't afford it. So when you look at tech, it one has to be affordable. It 2 has to provide value and save money. And it 3, it needs to fit your business model, right? Like, it needs to fit what your core competency is. And I think that goes back to one thing that you and I have talked about being super focused on what you do as your core competency. Like I used to think that we're a broker and we can move anything, and we have moved almost everything. But what we're good at and what our niche at is what we've been focused on recently. And so when we look at things and we look at our roadmap, it's all based on what we're going to focus on. Like your flatbed open deck, I think I emailed you a few days ago about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, just help me take it over. I don't even want to deal with it. Like, I want to do what we want to do. You can have it. And so like having that mentality and knowing what you're going after will help you make better decisions with your tech and better financial decisions as well. Like having an aligned mission statement or a mission goal for the company. Veering off and saying we're a broker and we're going to do everything is dangerous. That can get you in trouble.
How I'm trying to think of the best way to word this, but like how unnecessary is it for most brokers to offer everything? Like how much would you advocate to have that niche? Because again, like I look at it like this, like full truckload, open deck, that's our jam. We'll touch some dry van freight, but like I'm not going after food, reefer. I'm not going after LTL, air, parcel, any of that stuff. Full truckload is my jam. And that's really where we like to play. How do you guys navigate through that, like that mindset of like, hey, you know what, this is our niche, we're going to stick with it, there's more opportunity out there than you think?
Yeah, so as the market became kind of hyperinflated with brokers, right? And the brokers that are succeeding and are being successful have found a niche. I guarantee you there is something they are very good at, and there is a core customers that align with what they are very good at, and that is what is making them successful. And then there's the companies that are really struggling, and they're the ones just trying to sell to anybody and move any piece of freight to make a dollar. If you want to grow and you want to scale and you want to be successful for the longevity, you have to identify what you want to be good at, get really good at it, and execute on it. And execute on that with your sole focus. You'll always have your biggest customers or the people that you have a lot of loyalty to ask you to do some oddball shit, and you help them. You get it done because that's the relationship side of things. You have to build and continue to build that relationship with them. So you do it, right? It's not in your wheelhouse, but you get it done. But that should not be your focus. You should not be calling every customer and saying, hey, I moved a Maruca from Texas to California last week. I could move your Marucas too.
Yeah.
No, that's not what you do. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to say, hey, we do local short haul, hyper dense, hyper efficient, low margin freight. What do you got? Let's talk. Let's build a dedicated model. Let's build something that performs well. Let's continue to grow. And for us, it's interesting because we're brokerage first. Our core competency is brokerage. We started buying assets in 2023. We kind of do backwards than everybody. Everybody has an asset company and backs it up with brokerage. We do the opposite. We have the brokerage and back it up with the assets, or we build the assets to align with where our best strategies are with the brokerage. We go to customers and we build dedicated fleets for them. We build dedicated asset operations for them because that's what we've always done. We continue to stay focused on what we've always been focused on. Our core competency is brokerage. We're just brokering to our own assets at that point. So it is important. It's really important to focus and hone in on what you want to do and not just go willy-nilly and take and go after whatever you want. And I think too, I think customers in general will really, 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 really appreciate that. Because in my opinion, the sales cycle is kind of broken right now, and they have a bunch of Joes who does it all, reaching out to them all the time. And when the carrier like you or I that's focused on doing what they want and need calls them, they're so sick of hearing from people, they don't want to give us the time of day, right? So if everybody just kind of stepped back and chose something to focus on, I think it would help everybody all around. Everybody would be more successful. Customers would be happier because the cold calls are going to die down. People are going to be calling them with things that they're actually interested in or things that they're actually needing help with. And I think it benefits everybody, not just the people who are honing in on it.
Yeah, a good friend of mine who's a shipper for a very large company just actually put a post out there the other day talking about just this and how they went through all the outreach and everything else. And he put the really good outreach that he received and the really bad outreach that he received. And, there's kind of a mix in there. And I'm not going to say his name because I don't want people to go in and just blow up this guy's DMs. But, to put some, to put some numbers behind it, I know some people who own freight brokerages, and then, some of them own brokerages with assets as well, but they're pushing like 80 to 100 million a year in revenue, and they do one thing, like, and that's it. Right. So it's like, I don't understand why so many people are out there chirping, saying that you need to do all of this stuff. And I mean, I know another guy, same thing. He only does one mode as well. And I don't know what his numbers are, but I know that he has grown exponentially. He has a very large operation and they offer one thing. And it's like, it's funny because it's like, I see two different camps out there where it's like the ones who are like, oh, we do everything, we'll do everything. But it's just like, well, how much are you constantly churning? And, and again, and I look at it from like a growth standpoint, a training, development, and everything else. I want my team doing flatbeds, open deck, tarp, no tarp only, not flatbed with tarp, frozen chicken, and then fucking overdimensional RGN on the next. I don't want them doing that. I feel like that's counterproductive at that point from a training standpoint, but also from a vision casting standpoint here, right? Like, how much more clearer of a vision is it of like, hey, we are the top open deck provider in the United States of America. This is all we do, and we are doing it better than everybody else, as opposed to we'll move everything, do everything, go after everything. And I think it's just that spray and pray model that's out there. And again, and like, don't take my word for it. I'm just a little podcaster here on the internet. Go listen to the Founders podcast and listen to some of the titans of industry in the United States of America and listen to what all they say. They do billions, you guys, not just a little podcast. They do billions of dollars a year, and listen to their journeys if you don't believe what I'm saying here. And I feel like so many people get so intoxicated by potential opportunity that they lose sight of the target.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It sucks where we're at in the industry. It's been a hard few years, but we just got to keep going.
Yeah,
that's it. I think if you want to diversify and do everything, you do it one at a time, and you do it under separate entities, and you stay and remain focused on each individual thing separately. So let's say, if you wanted to be a venture out, you have your core competency, your flat, step deck, open deck, tarps, right? And then you say, okay, well, we're doing really good on this. What's the next step? Well, okay, we're going to get into reefer produce, right? You open up almost a second organization or a sister company, and you hire a new team for that company, and you hire experts in that company, and you build that company laterally to the OpenStack with two different mission statements, right? Because I do think it's important. I mean, some wise people have told me you can't build multiple things at once well. One will thrive, one will suffer. You have to stay focused. And I learned that the hard way, being arrogant and young. It wasn't that long ago. I started a gardening company in 2017, and I tried to run and make that thrive alongside running and making a brokerage thrive. And dude, people are right when they tell you have to focus. I've went through it. I've been humbled by it. You have to focus. You have to have your focal point and stick to it, and venture out once that one thing is at a point where you say, okay, I can let off the gas here and focus on something else and give something else my whole attention.
Yeah. As somebody who goes through that every single day, like, I wouldn't be able to do the podcast and the brokerage at the level that I do if I didn't have my business partner to monitor emails and watch everything behind the scenes for these 30 minutes. Just like I wouldn't be able to do the brokerage and get the content out if I didn't have my marketing, Christian, who's behind the scenes, who's editing, distributing, doing all of that work now. It took a while to get there. But it is very right. Like it is getting pulled in different directions. And I feel overwhelmed at times, and shit, man, that's like one of my biggest things that I'll go through out there, Alex, is I'm like, fuck, am I spinning my wheels too much? But I'm like, also have to pay my bills, and I love doing both. And, and I'm never going to stop podcasting no matter what. Like my goal is I'm just going to build up teams of people, and I'm just going to show up, do my thing, and then go, and then just stay on my routine. I guess I'm still arrogant enough to know that I'm going to do it. So
hey, you know what? You paint your own path, you make your own destiny, and you create your own fate. So if you keep saying you're going to do it, you'll get it.
It's going to happen, man. And so, dude, as we're kind of wrapping up, I want to ask you one final question here. So I don't pay attention to the freight market. Like I pay attention to the data and stuff that's out there, but I think a lot of what's out there is irrelevant to where my business is, right? Like I can't accept what I hear out there of like, oh, it's slow, it's this and that. I have to curate and cultivate my own opportunities. How important is it for you to, at least for others to be like, hey, stop paying attention to all the noise, focus on where you are in your business? And how do you get to that next level?
That's a tough one and a long one. We only have a little bit of time. Okay, so one of the biggest things that I've always done is only pay attention to our failing competitors, or don't pay attention to our direct competitors at all. What this does is it allows you to kind of identify your needs for what you are doing currently. Like, I don't care what CH is doing. I don't care what Flexport is developing. I don't care, right? Like, I'm going out there and I'm saying, this is what we're going to do. These are the problems that I see in our organization today. This is what our customers want. And that's what matters, right? That's it. So we focus in, we don't pay attention to our competitors unless they're failing. Because if they're failing, there's a lesson to be learned from it. We need to pay attention to them. We need to find out what they did wrong so we don't make the same mistakes. You learn more from failing companies than anything else. You'll never see what makes a successful company successful from the outside looking in, but you can pick apart a failing company and understand where the mistakes were made and learn from that. So that's important. As far as the market conditions, you have to kind of keep your finger a little bit on the pulse. Mm-hmm. The data is great, and the data can give you a high level view. But when I want to know what the market's doing, I pick up the phone when people are calling in on load postings, and I listen to how these drivers are responding, and I listen to the tone of their voice and how eager they are to negotiate with you or how not eager they are. Like, I want to get a before data can analyze it, read on drivers' mentality and drivers' behavior so that we can adjust accordingly to react to those super, super, super intricate market changes. And that's a lot regional based or even city based. Like, that's honing in very, very, very granular. But you have to understand those when you're hyper focused. The data's there. The data's great. A lot of people have a really good platform for data. We use it to gauge markets and market trends, but the breadth of it comes from the conversations, getting on the phone with somebody and having a real conversation. I hope that answers your question.
No, dude, that did. That answered it perfectly in my opinion, and it was also kind of elaborated a little bit more on how I think as well. It's just more of like, there's a lot of stuff that's coming at you every single day in every single direction. And, where my business is, we're in business development mode only. That's what we're doing. I'm not paying attention to anything else out there. We have our goals. We have our metrics, our daily metrics that we're going to hit to get there. And it's a straight, it's black or white. It's pass, fail, and that's it. And that's just the direction that we're going to run with it. But dude, Alex, I'm going to have you back on, man. I feel like we could go for like 2.5 more hours minimum about all of this stuff. But how does anybody reach out to you to find out more about what you guys got going on?
They could shoot me an email or give me a call. I could throw it in the LinkedIn link. Email is Schick, SCHICK @alliancelogistics.com with an X. Shoot me an email. I'll respond. I always respond. Call me. I'm not afraid to have a conversation with people. Pick up the phone. I think that's really important is real conversations like this. You can have interactions through emails all day long, but shoot me an email and expect a phone call. That's the best way. I'll share contact info on the podcast comments.
Perfect. I was say, don't put it out there right now, man. You're going to get spammed. But anyways, man, Alex, I appreciate it. Thank you guys all so much for joining me here today. I know you guys got value out of this one. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I got a very special guest. I'm going to bring him up here very shortly. Quick reminder, though, you guys, the weekly newsletter dropped this morning. Go to thefreightcoach.com. It will auto prompt you to register for it. Again, it's all industry insight, fuel prices, rates, stuff like that. We talk about it. But again, I don't sell out my listeners or my contacts and just auto sign you guys up. So if you want to check that out, freightcoach.com, and we'll go from there. But with that being said, you guys, again, entrepreneurship is a phenomenal journey. It's definitely overglorified on the internet and everything else that you see out there about how easy it is, how great it is. It is all of that, but there's a cost behind a lot of that. And I'm gonna, and I'm gonna bring up my guy here right now, and we're gonna talk about his journey in the industry. So I got my man Matt with Monarch Connect on the show today. Matt, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. Very excited. I had to match your flag with my flags here in the background and get some of that patriotism across all countries here.
Dude, I love it. And, with current events, I'm going to have to slap a tariff on you now with that. So we might as well.
It's going to go both ways here. It's going to go both ways. As long as we're smiling and we're doing it, we're good.
Oh, dude, I love it. That's funny. So, Matt, dude, how'd you get your start in freight, man? What brought you into this industry?
I think nobody, at least in North America, comes into freight just by choice. Everybody kind of falls into it through one way or another. My journey was a little bit unique. I started off joining logistics through a family friend. They got me involved in a company called Fluor. I went overseas to work with a company called Fluor, which I did work on. It's called LogCap 4, which is a military operation by the American military. I was in Afghanistan helping the troops, both Canadian and American, but I was mainly on American bases. Fell in love with logistics there. When I came back, I go, hey, I got to keep doing it. So that kind of started my journey. Then from there, I went into trucking, worked for Bison, then went into logistics, worked for companies like Fuel Transport, which is a logistics company here in Canada. And then I worked for Traffics, and then worked for Amplify Logistics. And then I found a great co-founder, and we started Monarch Connect, and we wanted to do something a little bit different. And that's where the entrepreneurship kind of got me to where I am today.
So I love what you said about you guys wanted to do something different. And I think like that's a statement that you hear a lot of people throw out there. But when you say that, Matt, what does that mean to you? What is that? Is like on your guys' vision or like your core values? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, the business partner, Kat, she's the vision board person. So she has the vision board and says like, hey, this we got to manifest all this stuff. But our motto is we got to deliver with kindness. We find a lot of everybody out there today just rams everything down the freight, the driver's throats, rams it down the shipper. This is what we can do. Nobody really tries to solve the problem like you. So there's none of that coaching involved in it. There's none of that partnership involved with it. Everybody's like, hey, you got a truck? Let's move it. Let's do it. Okay, how do we get to this point? What's the challenges that you guys are facing? Like, we want to really get to the bulk of what is logistics. And I find that occurred when a lot of these tech companies started coming into logistics and saying, oh, this is an easy fix. Let's just match a truck and a customer and put them together and just move that freight. And I don't think that's what we do. And from the sounds of it, I don't think, Chris, that's what you do either. So I think most of us don't want to do that, but there's a lot of, and we've talked about it when we first set up, there's a lot of those basement brokers that kind of did that for a while during COVID and ruined that reputation for everybody.
Yeah, I think that, this when I sit out here and I say like it's different now from like a business development standpoint and everything else. I mean, that's kind of like a great way to summarize what you were saying there is that's kind of what I feel like we're up against, right? Because it's like, this is a massive opportunity, but this is also a massive hurdle for a lot of business development reps out there right now. There has been yes, it's been very easy to cover trucks here over these last couple of years, but there's been some colossal stupidity that's been ran through, a lot of what's going on out there. And you're really only as good as their last experience with the service that you are offering, right? And that's across the board, man. I don't care if you're selling fucking ink for a printer. It's the exact same thing. And, for us inside of our organization, my business partner and I, our number one core value is do the right thing. And that is a very subjective and open statement. But I say that because deep down inside, we all know what's right and what's wrong. We all know the difference. Unless you were raised in the wild, you were raised in an environment where you know the difference between right and wrong. And I think, and even if you had a shitty upbringing, instinctively, we all know if we should or shouldn't be doing something. And I have just found that throughout my business, again, I'm not an entrepreneur guru or a genius or anything like that. I'm just a guy who's been in it here for, about 5 years now. And I know that in most situations, when I have put my best foot forward and I have been as open and honest about everything, and I have kept the other party's interest in mind, my customer, my carriers, all of that, as long as I kept that mentality, things have ultimately worked out in the long run. And I think that that's, one thing that, individuals need to really take into consideration as you're going out there and trying to develop business, right? Like, dude, I've already made, and I say this before every show, it's like, I've already made my 35 cold calls before I jump on. I break it up. I do 35 before the show, and I'll finish up and do 15 after the show. But I do that. And, I'm out there talking to people all day long. And no matter what, I know that there's a high probability that most of these individuals will not remember me in about 30 seconds. But as long as I hold myself to that same standard, I'm respectful, even if it's a rejection. Hey, I completely understand. Thank you so much for your time, and end the call. I don't push. I don't do any of that because I just don't believe in that stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And then luckily, I am not the cold call guru in our group. I'm more of the operations, kind of, talking to the truckers and talking to the drivers in the operations. Kat, my business partner, she really doesn't. She does the same experience. She says the same thing. It's like, hey, we make all these phone calls, and you don't know if it's going to register, but the ones that do, we create meaningful relationships with them and make it long lasting. And we high five and we're excited every time we get a customer because we know we're solving a problem. But the same thing for me when I'm talking to a lot of the truckers in the operations. I don't want to just hire a truck for the lowest price because I want to make sure they can grow and come back next year. But if I can keep a truck and then he multiplies to 2 trucks next year, 4 trucks the year after that, 16 trucks the year after that, that's going to benefit me because I helped him get him started. A lot of the other brokers in the industry don't understand that aspect of it, where it's like, oh man, I made $5,000 off of this guy. He didn't know the market. To me, that's just not, like you're talking about, being dishonest, right? Like if I have had guys lowball me and I've rejected it, be like, you don't know the market, or there's something else going on that shouldn't be that low today. And it's either, hey, let me help you educate you what's happening in the market, or B, what's going on in your operation. Tell me why you're so cheap into that area. If you can't articulate that properly, you really got to work on that in your business because you might not be around tomorrow. And I need every guy that I use to be there because being a repetitive customer for me is just as important because they will know my customers' freight better. And then they will execute on a higher level. And when there's issues, there's less phone calls at 2 a.m. One thing I hate, Chris, is a 2 o'clock phone call with a guy doesn't know what to do. And he's like, oh, what am I supposed to do in this circumstances? But versus someone who's trained, be like, hey, Matt, I'm sorry I'm calling you this late. I've already done all these 13 steps. This is where we're at. Let me know what I should do now. And then we know we can keep, roll on to the next thing. And I'd rather pay $100 to $300 more for a carrier to do that than having those all night phone calls and upsetting the customer, the shipper, everybody in between by not knowing what to do next.
Yeah, that, again, you guys, if you're listening to this on the replay later on in the day, rewind everything Matt just said and re-listen to that till it truly resonates with you, because what you're describing right there is something that, we're not perfect, but we try and apply that on every single shipment, right? Because like at the end of the day, man, I don't want to go out to the spot market to find opportunities or to find the next one. I want to find, like, again, we had a couple of loads that moved this week already. Booked them with the exact same trucking company. They were phenomenal, right? Like I literally told the dispatcher, I'm like, hey, I've been doing this for like 15 years now. I just want to let you guys know, you guys are in the upper echelon of providers that I've worked with.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we found out, all right, how many trucks they have in their fleet. We know exactly what lanes that they like to run now, which kind of fits inside of our core region of ours, which is, the Virginia down to Florida in the Southeast, like mid-Atlantic down to the Southeast there. And, again, like now I know as we're out there and selling, like it's just that confidence as a broker when I'm going out there and prospecting new opportunities where I'm going to talk to them about that, right? Because I'm very singular focused in our business development approach when it boils down to it, because I have just found that is working in with my prospects right now is very singular, very direct. This is what we do. This is who we are, as opposed to the old spray and pray methodology.
Exactly.
That used to work back in 2010 to 2020, right? But things have seismically shifted. and that. But now I know, because I know that this will resonate with some sales reps out there. The nerve that you feel after you onboard that new customer and they send you your first load and you're like, fuck, we don't have a real carrier for this. That all goes away when you have that capacity network built up, where it's like, dude, I have 1,000% confidence that when I land my next shipper that moves freight from that region that I just mentioned, and I can call that carrier up, I know how it's going to go.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I have on my wall. You can't see it, but it says, do not take same day loads, for that very specific reason. Because as an ops guy or like a founder, I want to take as much freight as possible. So I have to constantly remind myself, if an opportunity is knocking and a customer's pressuring you, you want to say yes. But unless you have a truck in hand with someone that that is trusted, that can execute to the level that you want, you don't want to bring your operations level down to a lower level. That's where things like a proper TMS really comes into place. And luckily enough, and funny enough, I didn't even notice this, Revenova is who we use for our TMS, along the bottom there somewhere. It really does help us get to where we need to get. For me, it's awesome because I can use it off my phone. And a lot of those other legacy softwares I've used in the past, I need to be mobile as a founder, because I might be out visiting a customer. I don't have time to bring up my laptop or whatnot. So having the ability for that to be an all-in-one package part of your TMS really helped us in our initial first year growth. And it helps with our customers' visibility because it was able to provide all the things that a customer would normally ask for. It's already there. And that really helps when you're starting off with the company as well. And that's one part of our journey that we wanted to really focus on, is finding that create a great TMS software that can do all those things for us and then add layers to it as we grow.
Yeah, dude, I'm right there with you, right? Like, I also am a active Revenova user as well, right? Like, we use them every single day. I was literally in there this morning researching prospects, researching active shipments that we have, and all of that. And and that's one thing for me where it's like, having that ability to really grow and scale. And because, like, dude, we have to run lean at the end of the day. We are a startup. We are bootstrapped. We have to get, as the old rap song goes, I got to make $1 out of 15 cents. Like, that is my life right now. Right. So it's like, to have the right tech in our operation that helps us scale and just save. Because to me, man, I'm constantly looking at it from an efficiency standpoint. How do I save minutes of my day so I can take those saved minutes and pick up the phone and start making more sales calls, right? Like, that's my focus is. And that's where it's like the operations of having the right tech stack inside of your organization it is. I think it's a massive difference maker out there. Like, one of my literal favorite features in Revenova is the clone feature that comes along with it. Like cloning shipments and everything, because dude, we don't have EDI customers. We don't have a lot of that stuff out there. So it's like, we have customers who, we pick up out of a lot of the exact same and deliver into the same facilities. Man, you know how much time that saves us just to go in and click that, duplicates everything because the commodity's the same, the weight's the same, pickup delivery locations the same, all of that, dude. It's just like, that just saves us a ton of time.
Automatic posting, the carrier can go in and put in all their information, can start their tracking. We use Trucker Tools, but connects to your Trucker Tools, automatically sets up the geolocation for everything. Geo fences the whole bit. Customer gets their notification. Drivers are like, it literally, the tracing. I don't need to, like, this might be a hot take. A lot of people think, we got to nearshore everything to other countries. And, I think that's the wrong approach. I think having the technology for you to be able to focus on what you're doing really will push it more forward for you. Because then you can go have more in-depth conversations with your carriers, with your customers, because you have the ability to know everything's being handled in the background correctly, and not always relying on third-party outside sources is the best way of going about it. I love to keep everything as much as close to heart as possible. And then be able to talk to my carriers as often as possible. I find that fundamentally very important too. That's why another feature I like it in Revenova is being able to track all those rates that you're putting in, and be able to go back and review that later on with your guys. Like, hey, I know you're one of my most common carriers, but you're like X amount above the market today. Like, what's going on? And be able to have those conversations. I think a lot of people just put a rate in and they move on. They don't go back to have conversations with your steady guys. But like, hey, this is how we need to improve. This is what we need to do to secure more business. Is part of that ideology as well for us.
So how are you leveraging that to kind of stay lean, right? Because, like, this is another thing too, out in the real world where I operate, not everybody just has boatloads of investment capital to go hire fucking 100 people, right? Like we gotta make this work. So how are you leveraging that data to help you make better decisions inside of your business? Because that's one thing that we do too, man. Like we are very, and when I say we, this is 100% my business partner. He is the guy who fucking tracks all the data. I talk all the shit. He takes all the shit I talk and then compiles it up into a very nice report for us to look at. But with that being said, though, man, like our data is everything right now, because it is, man. Like I love going, like, again, we're not in a position to turn away business, but at the end of the day, not all revenue is profitable. Okay.
Exactly.
Not all customers profitable. So it's like, how are you doing that? And then like leveraging that to know like, hey, we're good with our current employee headcount, for example. We don't need, if we focus more on booking these same repeatable carriers, we don't necessarily need to invest in hiring anybody at this time. We can keep stashing away capital to make sure that when we do bring somebody on, we have a financial runway already built in.
And I think, Chris, that's a very hard decision to always be making every single day as an entrepreneur. That's one of the things that I've been learning and I wasn't accustomed to, is when do you hire on? And I laugh because remember when I was an employee, I'd always be telling my boss, we need to hire more people. We need to hire more people. Why can't we just hire more people to help support? Now, as a business owner, we're like, how much more can I do before I blow my brains out, right? And it's hard because you really want to focus on the right trucks and having the right ability to have the right knowledge to service the customers. And I think you nailed it earlier. It's understanding your carriers and where they're running and what capacity they can give you, and then making them feel comfortable that you will secure that capacity. Because how many guys that you know that you talk to have been offered an RFQ from one of the big retailers because the broker got it? When they got the RFQ, they never saw the freight. And there's that, the trust is lacking. When you have that trust built and the data that you get, is accurate. So what I mean by that is often when we go talk to our carriers, and when I used to do this, when I used to talk to carriers, I used to add another 20, 30%, or I know they're 20, 30% higher because they're fishing. I used to just say they're fishing for rates, and they're not giving you an accurate number that's out there. We'd have to really kind of guesstimate where it is. So you'd have to rely on different kind of reports and whatnot. Now, when you're working with trusted people and you have, like for me, Revenova, I have that sales tracking data that comes in, what other people are using, what kind of other rates. Green's very similar to what Greenscreen even does too. You're able to go, hey, this is the market. This is what my guys tell me. I know we're pretty close. I think I can secure the business at this. Go back to my carrier, be like, this is what I'm seeing as the market. Can you agree to this rate for 6 to 12 months? Lock it in. If I get this business, put it into writing into a contract, and then everybody's kind of happy, and hopefully you're able to kind of grow from that position. I try to stay away from the load boards, but you need to develop carriers, and those are very much needed still too. So load boards are good for new blood trying to find it out. But I'm different in a way. I talk to all my broker friends, and I'll ask them who they're using and who is good and who is bad, and be like, hey, what's your guys' experience with this? I'm willing to try. Or I'll tell them, hey, these guys are really great. Please use them, because I think that helps the whole community out as well. When like-minded brokers use like-minded carriers, that group's going to rise to the top versus people who kind of hoard all the information to themselves, and it doesn't benefit the community. And I'm very much a community believer. And one of my mottos always was, there's enough freight for everybody to go around. There's always a driver shortage. We always hear about there's not enough freight. I know there's dips in the market, but I don't know about you, but we felt a little bit of a crunch in the last couple of weeks with the tariffs. Now it's probably going to be the reverse. Not enough drivers. This is happening. That is happening. You always got to be working within your community. And I think that community presence is very important to be able to really accurately understand your data that you're getting.
Are you guys primarily doing cross-border freight then? Is that your guys' kind of your wheelhouse, or are you guys intra-Canada for the most part?
Majority is cross-border, and we focus on cold chain. We love dealing with anything that has to do with cold chain, predominantly with food, food mainly. And the reason being is recession-proof in our mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely, 100% agree with that stance, right? Like food at the end of the day, like if we're not eating, like I think we can all do the math on a lot of that stuff. But from my perspective though, Matt, how have your prospects, again, you do a ton of cross-border freight. I know tariffs are all over the news about what's going to happen. Is it going to happen? Is it a giant negotiation? My personal stance is I'm at a wait and see with a lot of this, because I feel like a lot of the talk goes away when there's a little bit, there's a give and a take, right? I don't think anybody can deny that the United States practically subsidizes the majority of the world. And I look at it as this: we're like $36 trillion in debt. We got to start clawing our way out, right? But with that being said, though, man, when we're at the front lines like we are in transportation, how much of that is a concern with a lot of your customers right now? Are you seeing that they're like, hey, we got to get a bunch of this stuff shipped down there right now? Are they at a wait and see? How is that looking?
A lot of the food guys are very much, I wouldn't call it panicking, but they're being very, very urgent in their requests and the movement of the goods, because they don't know what's happening. So a lot of the protein buyers are really shipping across the border and they're really buying to bring up inventory into Canada, because Canada and the United States have been best friends for a heck of a long time, right? So we've been across border sharing everything, resources. Our regions are more aligned than certain parts of the US within itself. So the Midwest and the prairies are more similar than Ontario and New York are to even the BC and the California area. So these regions have developed more regionally versus countrywide. So that, and the supply chains feed it that way. That's why you saw Trump talk about the pipeline recently, because it connects from Alberta all the way down. But to the same effect, a lot of these food buyers right now are pushing a lot of their products across because everybody wants to build up inventory. The problem with a lot of these positions is it's perishables. You can't increase too much of that inventory, because then you have to really sell it quickly at a lower price once it starts spoiling. So it's kind of like a catch-22. So certain products are moving and getting frozen and being held to, but other products you can't do that. But the customers are then deciding, do we buy across from Canada? Do we buy from Mexico? If we can't buy from those two, do we really want to buy from China? Do we want to really buy from South Africa? Or do we really want to buy from Asian countries? Or do we just continue buying from Canada and Mexico because it's still a better product, because they adhere to the same rules that we do when it comes to food consumption? And I think that's part of what has to be kind of hashed out in the next little bit. But everybody has to obviously protect their own interests for the most part. But I think there's a lot of panic buying going to start happening when tariffs do come into play, for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Robert Cowton has a question about what technology are you using to onboard carriers right now?
I use RMIS. I know Highway is the other one that was kind of popular. I've always used RMIS. It was more like a familiarity for me, and it's kind of worked out. And I like how it kind of, for me, it goes right into my Revenova system. I don't have to kind of do anything else. I do use Carrier for a one-on-one to kind of have a look at what the carriers are being rated on and how they're being looked at. But for the most part, I want to make sure the insurances are up to date. I have my thresholds for the most part get always triggered because of differences between Canada and the United States. I always review all my carriers at least 3 times before I onboard them. That's very important to what we do.
Yeah, no, I got you there, man. I think that, you know, with where things are right now, how are you projecting, you know, in maybe you and your business partner, how are you guys projecting what 2025 might shake out to be? My personal stance is, I mean, outside of some drastic event that happens, and again, you could argue that implementation of tariffs at the levels that are being spoken about, that could cause a drastic shift. If all of this kind of gets worked out, which I ultimately think a lot of it is just media sounding pieces, it's going to work itself out. I don't necessarily see anything changing for the most part. I feel like what we're experiencing right now is probably going to trickle along throughout the year. What's your kind of thoughts on that?
We're projecting a very good year. I think freight's going to increase for us just because we're still very much in growth stage, or initial kind of stages. So it's a lot easier to go from 0 to 1, from 1 to 2, and so on. But I feel there's going to be a lot more freight for entrepreneurs like ourselves right now, as other companies are going to try something different because they weren't being provided the support they were promised. And I think it's a very much a year for entrepreneurship, as both sides of the border are going to be focused on that middle class again, which is great for startup companies getting in there and kind of really focusing on what customers need. And I'll also see the rise of these smaller companies. So there's a famous company in Canada that's kind of really taking on Hershey's and Nestle. It's called Midday Squares, and there's a lot of these like smaller chocolate companies or other food confectionery companies that are coming up through the ranks, and they're going to be coming big in 2025, 2026, 2027. Only people like you and I are able to service, because they don't want to go over to the big guys because they're not going to get that specific need that they're looking for.
Yeah.
So I really see 2025 being a very good year for entrepreneurs and mid to smaller size enterprises, for sure.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Matt, in that regard. I personally think, and like I had Sean Smith, he's with Denim. We do a Financial Friday show once a month together, and we were talking about that. I think it was either in December or January, where the growth in the industry or like the market actually started showing a shift in smaller providers taking market share away from the larger providers out there. And I'm like, dude, I'm of the mindset, no matter what I say about the market, you guys, I personally don't give a flying fuck how the market is performing. I will find a way to win, right? Like
Yeah,
that is
absolutely.
where I'm at with it. And I'm right there with you, man. Like I think that the tolerance for failure is the longer, like I will say this to any sales rep out there, the longer that this market remains this way, the better of an opportunity you're going to have when their current network fails, because the tolerance for failure will be so low because most people are going to look back. Most people's attention span is like 8 seconds, you guys. All right. So like, they're going to look back and be like, well, hey, it's been easy for like our trucks have been on time for the last year. What gives now? Are you not able to do this job? We got to find somebody who is. So I think like these next 12 to 24 months are going to turn into one of the biggest market share grabs of modern history. I truly, truly feel that way about that from a business development standpoint in freight.
I would add a caveat to that. As long as you have a product to sell and you're not just selling, I can pick up and deliver. If you're just doing a pickup and delivery and you're commoditized that way, all the other sales rep are having the same conversation. And you really need to have an ability to speak to what you're doing and what you're doing differently and able to vocalize that to the customer. Because if you're making that phone call and you're going, hey, I pick up on time. My on-time percentage is 99%. He's going to say, yeah, so is the other 150 phone calls I got today. Like, how is that different? And difference could be in the things that how you promote yourself and being a familiar face, going out there and exposing yourself into being a part of the community, going out there and doing different things differently. And what I mean by that is focusing on a specific niche. Like if you're doing dry freight that is full truckload, point A to point B, you're going to be losing out to the big guys like Prime and Schneider all day long because they can get it down to the pennies and they need to make $1 off of every truck that they move. You need to make a heck of a lot more. So you really got to focus on what your story is in that journey that you're providing to your customer and how you fit part of their journey. And that's why I said like the way we're buying now is changing as well. So everybody's going on TikTok, everybody's going on Instagram. Nobody's going and watching the commercials about TV dinners anymore. It's like who you're following, that's influencing what you're buying. And those purchases are different from what it was 20, 30 years ago. They're not going to giant warehouses anymore. You got to be far more niche. You got to have more of that supply chain kind of figured out versus I pick up with a big truck, I deliver with a big truck. That's all I can offer. How else can you give them the different opportunities? Can you cross stock this? Can you warehouse it for them? Can you provide a final mile? Can you palletize? Can you pick and pack? What kind of folder solution can you do that makes them more attractive to you is what I would suggest for 2025.
I love it. Matt, dude, this flew by. I knew it was going to. I mean, the first time we talked, I think we almost went for like an hour and we're both like, fuck, we got to get back to work here.
Yeah.
But hey, man, I appreciate you joining today. How does anybody reach out to you to find out more? If you guys are hiring, whatever it is, man, put that out there so people know how to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Either through our website, Monarch Connect, obviously monarchconnect.com. Shoot us an email. There's obviously a contact list there on LinkedIn. We're going to be expanding some of our socials. We're doing a few different things later on this year. So check that stuff out. We'll have a lot more announcements that we'll have coming up. I think it'll be pretty cool. And yeah, just kind of reach out to us. We're very responsive. We're not like, I think most people where they just kind of ignore everybody. We'd like to get in touch with everybody that we can chat with, whether it's you have industry knowledge, if you want to learn about something, we just want to talk to everybody and learn about you as well.
I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you so much for joining me. That's going to be it for today, you guys. We got a guest coming on pretty much tomorrow. Well, not pretty much, tomorrow and Friday as well. As always, if you guys got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. Or if you're feeling really ambitious after this one, which you should be, rank the show on iTunes and Spotify, you guys, because that's what helps us get that message out there, is because if you saw value, your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Ayy, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the bag. Ayy, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane